Mandala. Oh yeah.
All that. And those of us who are not, so it's not just Vietnam, I mean, all over the world, there are places that we can reach and help out, extend our hand, and there are places that we cannot reach. So to places that we cannot reach, whether physically, places where we cannot reach physically, we recite our prayers. So prayer is not just a recitation, just not just the words alone, but the thought. That is the recitation is backed by the pure thought. For the people who are suffering, the sufferings to go away, and the pain to go away. And if the pain is something that cannot go away, then let the people who are going through such misery to be blessed with the fortitude to endure, for resilience and endurance, for them to go along with the suffering that cannot be removed. Yeah. So basically, that is what we are going to do. 3 parts: Dharma talk, Dharma prayer. So when I say Dharma prayer, we will do a short meditation as well. We will first start with the meditation, and then do a short recitation of Medicine Buddha prayer, Medicine Buddha mantra, and then we will go into Q&A. That is today's program. Oh yeah. Now, excuse me. So this week's program session is so we have a remainder of last week's session, last week's instructions. So there were 12 instructions. We started with 12 instructions and stopped at the 6th one. Now we shall begin now from the 7th. So these today's instructions are known by the name 12 things that one cannot do without, or 12 essential things. So in this regard, I think last week we stopped at the view, right? It is essential for a Dharma practitioner to have a proper view, right view. And then in this regard, we discussed that the view that we actually quoted Master Padmasambhava, the great yogi, the great tantric master, great teacher, Padmasambhava, who said one's view should be like high as the sky, and one's conducts should be as fine as barley, zamba, or flour. So we know in this regard that the view, one's understanding of the Dharma, should be as advanced as one could. So to the maximum level one could understand the Dharma. So one should study, one should practice, one should put into application what you understand of the Dharma. So in this regard, understanding of the Dharma is vital. And for that, one needs to have the proper right view. So if you have the wrong view, so the view is like the direction that you are taking. So if you are taking, let's say you are taking one huge load of groceries or some important stuff you are carrying in your car, but if you have the whole direction wrong, then you will never reach your destination because of the wrong direction, right? Similarly, if you have the wrong view, if your view is improper, then no matter it doesn't matter how many practices or how many loads that you are taking, even though it's a good practice, it will not be able to take you to your destination. In other words, it will take much longer because you will be circling and like if you have the direction wrong and you carry some stuff in your car, and if you didn't have the right direction, then you will keep going round and round and round. And it will take, I mean, you will get there eventually, but it will take much time, much longer. If you know the way, if you know the direction, so the way, the direction is the view. When you have the right view, then you will not end up in confusion. You will reach the end goal much faster. You will reach your destination much faster. So the view is very important, and the right view is most important. So as I said, basically last week we covered that. Somebody asked. So generally speaking, right view is the we say in Tibetan. So that means two things. First is to believe in law of causality, right? And the second is to take believe in the triple gem. So believe in triple gem, that Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and believe in law of causality, right? Basically saying if you do good things will come. If you do bad things will come. So it's very simple to say, but when it comes to actual application, they're very difficult, right? So there's a saying that in Buddhism, I mean, some of the masters, they say Buddhism is not that difficult to understand or talk about, but Buddhism is very difficult to apply. One great master, Arya Deva, so he's a great scholar himself, great master himself. He's a student of Master Nagarjuna. So he actually divided the spiritual practices into three parts. One that can be done physically, one that can one that can be done verbally, and one that can be done or that has to be done spiritually or mentally. So Buddhism falls into the last category. So you just have to think right? And it seems so easy. You can just sit down, you can just lie in bed and think right thoughts. But it's not that easy when you are sitting down, and if you learn nothing, and if you sit down, there's nothing to think about. So Master Arya Deva was saying in other religions, some of the spiritual practices. So spiritual, we have to understand here that realization of God, right? Realization of the ultimate realization of the ultimate achievement or ultimate attainment, if you like. So in religions that are not so in spiritual practices that are not Buddhist, like Hinduism or Muslim, Islam, so there are lots of the realization of God can be attained through penances, taking penances. If you keep yourself hungry for the sake of God, then you will see God. If you burn yourself, then you will be able to. I mean, in a certain aspect of Hindu religion, so if you poke yourself with a knife or whatever, then you will be able to attain your realization, and so on and so forth. So I mean, this is anyway, we are going a little bit off-road. So the main point is Buddhism is a mental practice, in other words. So it's easy to speak about, easy to talk about. I can explain a lot, and you can also repeat after me what I'm talking. But the question here is Buddhism is not about application of Buddhist practices comes through mental application. not necessarily through physical ones. So in this regard, everything begins. Almost everything starts with the right view. As I said, the direction is the key. So think of yourself as the car, and you are carrying, going from this state to the Buddhahood. Think of that as going from let's say, from the market to your home. If you want to carry groceries to your home, of course you have to know the direction to your home, right? Most people know where their home is, so they can drive there. But if you do not know how to get to your home, then you will end up in the bus or in your car with all the loads. Maybe you will end up, the whole day will be wasted, not knowing where to go. So knowing the destination is key. So right view is like that. Okay, so so this is more like a patch up. So I'm going to connect this to, this is last week's topic, and I'm going to connect this to this week's topic. So which is, this week's topic starts with the number 7 is that one should let one's mind reside in its natural state. So we will begin with this one. Oh yeah. So before we begin, we're to talk about letting the mind reside in its natural state. Let's just define mind, the very nature of mind, very briefly. So mind is a cognitive factor, meaning, so mind has two sort of qualities. One is that it is clear. Mind in its nature is clear, and then it is cognizant. Think of it as a mirror. A mirror by nature is clean. In its original form, a mirror is clean, but due to over time it can get stained and other things. And then the mirror is also reflective. Whatever object is put in front of the mirror will reflect it. So similarly, the mind is cognizant of whatever is being whatever comes in front of it. In other words, whatever happens in front of the mind, whatever happens in front of our mental perceptors, the mind can comprehend it. The mind can grasp it, and then so in this regard, the mind has two capabilities. It is more of a not necessarily a capability. It is the very nature of the mind. One is that it's clear. Because it is clear, whatever is displayed in front of the mind is also being comprehended by the mind. So if the mind is not as clear as it is supposed to be, as it is originally meant to be, then whatever object is displayed in front of the mirror or the mind will also be faulty. So if you have a mirror, if you have a broken mirror, or if you have a tainted mirror, the images in the mirror will also become broken and tainted. So similarly, when the mind is not in its natural state, then the images, so here images refer to the thoughts, right? The mental image, the images in the mirror and the images in the mind. The images in the mind are referred to as thoughts usually. So our thoughts become awry. Our thoughts become fuzzy. When the mind is not clear, mind by nature is clear, but over time it is stained by afflictions, negative thoughts, and lots of experiences and other things. And when these things happen, the images that appear in our mind, in other words, our thoughts, become fuzzy. So in this regard, it is important to bring the mind to its very natural or original state, which is clear, pristine, right? Clear and cognizant, being able to see, just like a mirror. The mirror is clean by nature and is able to reflect whatever appears in front of it. So the mind should also have that state. And in order to have that, one needs to begin with meditation. So this is where it comes. A stabilization meditation is key. So to bring the mind to its original form, what we have to do is, just as we talk about the broken mirror, our mind is also broken into so many fragments. Attachment here, hatred there, some compassion here, some loving kindness there, some bodhicitta there, and some jealousy there. So it's broken. It's all broken. So what we need to do is combine, make it all into one big, bring the mirror into its original state of pristine, of clarity. And when that, and to do that, combining, bringing the mind, all the fragmented, all the broken fragments of the mind to its original state is known as meditation, is known as gom. So we usually say, bring our attention to here, right? When we start meditation, we say, bring all your attention to now and here. Don't let your mind distract. So distraction is another word for fragmentation. So distraction means your mind is not here, it's going there, it's going to the south, east, west, north. So don't let it go south, east, north, west. Bring it all here to the center. So whatever has been broken into fragments, bring it all back to the original state. So that is what we are talking about. Okay, so let's bring our attention to, so after this is actually point number 8, but we will jump to point number 9 first. And then, so let's bring to our attention point number 9 and point number 8 and 12, 9, 8, and 12. So we will begin with 9 first, and then 8, and then 12, and then continue with 10 and 11. So the reason here is that point number 9, so this is mainly talking about Buddhist practice in general, Mahayana practice in particular, and in most particular case, the practice of Vajrayana. So the first point number 9, that is actually with the Buddha Dharma in general. So one should have an instruction that leads. One should have a instruction that will lead one away from hindrances, maras, mass destruction, and the wrong path, right? So Buddhist teaching in general, if you remember, the Buddha said, commit not any unwholesome deed. So yeah, commit not any unwholesome deed. Do not do any bad things. Gather a wealth of virtue. Do only good things, and then subdue your mind, tame your mind, control your mind. So this is the teaching of the Buddha. So 3 sort of divisions. So in this regard, the first one is commit not any unwholesome deed, right? Do not do any bad things. So in this regard, what is a bad thing? What is a wrong thing? So in order to know what is wrong and what is right, if you know what is wrong, then you also know what is right. Because if you remember, if you look at the 10 vices or 10 non-virtuous things in Buddhism, the 10 non-virtuous things and 10 virtuous things are actually the exact opposite of each other. Killing is a non-virtual act, and abstaining from killing, right? Not killing by itself is not a virtue. If you are sleeping, you are not killing anybody, but that's not doing any virtue. Okay, so if you are given the opportunity to kill somebody and abstain from killing someone, then that is a virtuous act. If you are given the if you are given the opportunity to lie to someone, cheat someone, and you abstain from doing that, that is a positive, virtuous act. So just because you are, if you just sleep the whole day, then you will not be killing anyone, you will not be doing any of the negative deeds, but that doesn't mean you are doing virtuous deed. Anyway, that's a different topic. So coming to the point, one needs to know, in order to abstain from the negative deeds, in order to abstain from vices, sinful deeds, one needs to know what is wrong, what is sinful, what moral, what is not right. So in this regard, one needs to have the instruction as to what to do and what not to do. So, I mean, basically, we can go back to the Buddha's teaching of saying, which is commit not to any unwholesome deed. So what are the unwholesome deeds? Simply put, there are 10 of them: not killing, not lying, and, so this, in this regard, and anything that is in close proximity to the 10 negative deeds can be considered as negative deeds, and anything that is in close proximity to the positive deeds or the virtuous deeds can be considered virtuous deeds as well. So the 10 virtuous and non-virtuous deed are the master copy or the masterpiece. So we must learn from that. So yeah, so I'm just putting things very simply. So the 10 non-virtuous deeds, right? Anything that is in close proximity to the 10 non-virtuous deed, that you can consider as a non-virtuous deed. So non-virtuous deed is not just 10. There is hundreds of thousands of non-virtuous deeds. So if you do not have all the details as to what is a non-virtuous deed, then look at the 10 non-virtuous deed. There are 3 for body, 3 non-virtuous verbal deeds, 3 non-virtuous physical deeds, 4 non-virtuous verbal deeds from the speech, 3 from the physical body, and 3 from the mind, 3 mental deeds, 3 physical deeds, and 4 verbal deeds. So negative and positive. So when you abstain from the negative deeds, you are actually committing you're actually committing to virtuous deed. So in this regard, you need to have a proper instruction. So all the Buddha's teaching are the instructions. And so this is, so point number 9 is actually telling us that one must learn as much as one can, the Buddha's teaching. As much as you can, you must study. And that way you will know what to give up and what not to give up and what to cultivate and how to cultivate all that. So the first thing you need to know, you need to have those instructions to get yourself safe from the hindrances, from the maras. So mara here refers to, mara in Sanskrit means devil or the demon. And demon has to be understood as the inner demon of afflictions, negative thoughts, kleshas, like jealousy, hatred, attachment, and things like that. So don't think of demon in the sense of an external ghost or some evil guy trying to kill you like that. So the instructions to practice, instructions to escape from negative deeds is one of the 12 essential things. That is point number 9. Then next we will go to point number 8, right? The previous one. Point number 8 is being able to make sure that all your actions, all your deeds are taken as a practice. Being able to take all your actions into practices. Now, this actually comes into the purview of bodhisattva practices. In other words, we call them Mahayana practices. So in this regard, So first, point number 9, we talk about Buddha Dharma in general. Point number 8 is about Bodhisattva path or Mahayana path in particular. So generally speaking, being able to take all the negative outcomes in life as a path is not spoken that much in the general Buddhist Buddha Dharma. In other words, most of the, I mean, there are talks about, do good thing and do not do bad thing and things like that in this regard. But the instructions as to how to take negative outcomes in life, if you have, so in life there is a lot of downfalls, right? In our life, day-to-day life, there's a lot of downfalls. So how to take those downfalls as a lesson for you to grow spiritually, that is spoken in the Mahayana Sutra or in the Bodhisattvayana Sutras. So in this regard, so the Bodhisattva is someone, as we all know, Bodhisattva is someone who has dedicated his or her entire existence into serving others. So in this regard, whatever comes, if somebody is harming you, if somebody is lying to you, cheating on you, doing anything negative, all these were taken as a part and parcel of one's practices. So it converts all the negativities into positivity. So if somebody makes you angry, you take that as the key to develop your patience. If somebody is if somebody is betraying you, right? You are being good to somebody and that person betrays you, so they break your trust. If somebody breaks your trust, and then instead of crying over it and all that, you take that as a practice of impermanence, and so on and so forth. So as I always, I always say this. It may sound cliche, but the thing is, in Bodhisattva practices, whatever negative actions were committed to you, the actions were always condemned. But you do not hold any grudge. You do not hold any grudge against the person who harmed you. This is, hold on to that. Then this becomes attachment. If somebody is cheating on you, of course you have to deal with that situation. You have to make sure that the person understands that he or she can no longer cheat on you. If somebody is trying to kill you, you should avoid that and all those things. But as much as you can, you should try to hold no grudges against the person who is also a victim of their own negative mindset. So in this regard, the person is not at fault. The person is under the spell of the negative attitude. So one great example made by Master Shantideva is that if somebody hits you with a stick, if somebody beats you with a stick, are you going to hate the stick? No, right? Because the stick has no control. The stick is in the hand of the angry person who hit you. So you will direct your anger towards the person, not the stick. If that is your logic, following the logic that you are citing, then it is not the person himself who is actually hitting you. It is the person is also under the spell of his anger or hatred. He's hitting you because he doesn't like you or something. His dislike, his whatever the situation, whatever the incident is. And this can actually go back a long time, right? Maybe you have a family feud or whatever, and maybe you did something wrong. So you get the point here, right? If you are to hate if you are going to be angry, you should actually be angry with a stick, because the stick is the one that is actually inflicting pain upon you. When somebody hits you with a stick, it's the stick, not the person. but you are not going to hit this. You are not going to hate the stick. You are not going to fight with the stick. You are going to fight with the person. So just like the stick, which has no control, the person who is hitting you with the stick also has no control. So therefore, you should hate the hatred, hating the hatred, hating anger, not the person. So anyway, so in this regard, whatever negativities may come in your life, take that as part of your spiritual lesson and take that into your path. That is actually a bodhisattva practice. So we jump to point number 12, which is one needs to have a to accomplish Trikaya as the natural result of sadhana is essential. So point number 12 tells us that one needs to have a certain method, certain practices that will want to realize the three kayas, or the three bodies of the three enlightened bodies of the Buddha. The Dharma body, the Dharmakaya, the Sambhogakaya, or the enjoyment body, and the Nirmanakaya, or the manifestation or emanation body or transformation body. So the three kayas. So one should have an instruction. One should have a practice that will make one realize this three enlightened body of the Buddha. So this is what the point number 12 is talking about. In this regard, this practice, the point number 12 actually is referring to tantric practices, in the sense that so we talk about Buddha Dharma in general, then we talk about Mahayana Buddhism, and now we are covering Vajrayana Buddhism, in the sense that the three kayas, Dharmakaya is very much spoken. The causes and method, the causes to and the method for achieving Dharmakaya is very spoken in great detail in all the sutras. But when it comes to the method and the causes and the causes to and the method for achieving Sambhogakaya and the Nirmanakaya, the enjoyment body and the emanation body, in other words, the physical body as manifested by the Buddha. In this regard, the sutra is quite fuzzy on that aspect. It's on purpose, of course. It is explained in great detail in the tantric practices. And that is why, if you remember, and if you have been to initiation or an empowerment program, you will remember that the teacher will ask you to, see the teacher as the guru as the deity, and yourself as the deity, and transforming yourself into the deity, and so on and so forth. So the deity is the emanation. Deity is the emanation of a certain quality of the Buddha. So the deity like Tara or Genreze doesn't necessarily have to be a single external entity. Like John and Mary doesn't have to be a different entity from ourselves. Being a Buddha is like being a good person. Anyone can be a good person, right? John can be a good person. Mary can be a good person. Yen can be a good person. So anyone can be a good person. So similarly, Buddha or a deity has to be understood in this regard. It is a kind. It is a quality. Deities are a manifestation of certain enlightened and perfected qualities of the Buddha. For Tara, it is the blessing and the swiftness. For Genreze, it's the compassion, and so on and so forth. So in this regard, training yourself when you become a Buddha, you obviously have the three things, right? The mind, body, and the speech. So developing of the speech, the verbal capability, and the physical flexibility of the Buddhas are developed, are taught, are spoken in great minute details only in the tantras, not in the sutras. So in this regard, you will see in the tantra, when you do tantric practice, you have a lot of chanting, like recitation of mantras, right? Or mani padme hum, like that. So the reason is you are trying to develop the verbal capabilities of the enlightened being. So development of physical flexibility and verbal capabilities are spoken in great detail only in the tantras. So in this regard, point number 12, which says a practice that will enable one to achieve the three bodies of the Buddha. So body doesn't necessarily mean for physical body here. So when you say the three bodies of the Buddha, body in Buddhism is understood as an aggregate or as a heap, right? So if there's a bunch of things put together, that is considered a body. So the body doesn't necessarily mean like a human body or things like that. A book is a body. A book is a body of pages, a body of words. So a car is a body. A car is a body of machines, and so like that. So in this regard, the three bodies of the Buddha doesn't necessarily mean actual physical body. Yeah. So it is important. So point number 12 tells us that one should, if you want to achieve enlightenment, then it is also important. So this is a reference that one should practice Tantra. Oh yeah. Now we go back to point number 11, and then we go to point number 10. Now, number 11 is that at the time of death, one must have the confidence of happiness, or one must have confidence at the time of death, simply put. So in order to have confidence at the time of death, it's very difficult because most of the time, I mean, we do a lot of mistakes. We make a lot of mistakes in our life, right? Some of the things that we want to happen does not happen. Some of the things that we do not want to happen does happen. Sometimes it's our fault. Sometimes it's fault of other people. Sometimes it's fault of the system, whatever. So there are so many things that we have thought of achieving and couldn't achieve. So many things that we want to avoid and couldn't avoid. So in this regard, most of the time, at the time of death, people are not very happy because there are things that we do not want to, we are so attached with, so that we do not want to let go of. There are so many things that we have, as I said, we have not completed. Because of that, at the time of death, there is no confidence because we do not know where we are going now, right? So in this regard, it is very important to, in order to have confidence at the time of death, is very important. So that instruction number 11 says it's important to have confidence within yourself, confidence with your mind at the time of death. So the actual wording, the actual line says at the time of separation of body and mind. That means at time of death. So that can only be achieved through practice of spiritual practices. Whether you call it Buddhism or not Buddhism doesn't really matter. But it is important that you need to have you need to adopt spiritual practices in your life, and only then you will be able to make peace with the things that you have been wanting to do and not being able to do so, and wanting to avoid and not being able to avoid so. And in order to make peace with yourself, and make peace with your very being, with your past, with your very being. That is all possible only through spiritual practices. So that is point number 11. Now we go one step earlier, one step back, which is point number 10. That is, it is essential to adopt a practice of not leaving the instruction into words alone. So what it means here is that whatever instruction you receive from your teachers or from reading the book or whatever, it should be applied, put into practice, put into application. Otherwise, if you remember, like 2 weeks ago, we had this one of the session, there was this line about someone carrying the patient, carrying a bag full of medicine without ever taking it. So it's futile and fruitless. So just by carrying the medicine externally, in order to be treated, in order to be cured, you need the medicine internally. So in this, for point number 11 to take into place, or point number 12 for that matter to take into place, to realize the 3 bodies of the Buddha, or to have confidence at time of the death, and all these things, for all of this to happen, one needs to put into practice all the things that were taught in the Dharma. So in the monastery, we used to say, our teacher used to tell us, because sometimes we are very lazy and we do not study much. So we have so many books. We have lots of books, right? And we do not study. Our teacher used to tell us, you have to read the book. The book will not read you. So what they're actually telling us, we have to put into practice what is at your disposal. So the books are there, but if you do not read the books, the knowledge will not seep into your mind automatically. So similarly, in order for the knowledge to seep into your mind, you have to read the books. And merely reading the book is not enough. You have to put into application what you have read. If you do not put into application what you have read, then there was a very good example said by Master Shantideva. So it's similar to the medicine thing. So he said, in order to be treated, in order to be cured for your sickness, so that is the last 2 words of chapter number 5 of Bodhisattvacharya Avatar. So he said, if you merely read the label of medicine, will you be cured? You will not be cured by merely reading the label. In order to be cured, you need to take the medicine. So not leaving the instructions as word, that is the key. That is point number 10. And this wraps up today's session. Okay. So today's session is over. Dharma talk session is over. The second session will be prayer session or meditation session, whatever we call it. We will do it for 5 minutes and not more. And then we will go to Q&A, right? So for the for prayers or recitation, prayer and recitation should always come from should be combined with meditation. So when we say meditation here, as I said earlier, meditation is the consolidation of all your thoughts. Your mind is broken. Your mind is broken into many different, thousands of fragments. So we try to collect all of them together and make it a big mirror. So consolidation of all the broken fragments of your mind. That is what meditation is about. So in this regard, we have to collect our mind wherever it is dispersed, whether it is in south or east or north or market or somebody, your friend's house, whatever, we have to collect it back. For this, instead of thinking outside, think internally. So the thought that is thinking about car, that is thinking about bananas, apples, that is thinking about sky. So what is that thought? That thought is actually a projection that we may have seen earlier outside. It is a projection made internally by our mind. So if that is the projection made by our mind, so what is our mind? How does our mind look like? Does mind have an appearance of its own rather than the ones that is shaped by anything that is, does mind have a shape or a form that is other than the one that is molded by our experiences in the external world? So in other words, is there an external reality to our mind, our mental state? Is mind just a projection of all the things that we have seen and imagined seeing, or is there something really there as a mind? Let's meditate first on the form of mind. Form of mind meaning what is mind, how mind looks like. How mind looks like. How do you think mind is? What is the shape of mind? And when after that, let's think about what is mind. When, for example, when we think of a cup, our mind is actually projecting a cup, and that is our mind. When we think of a ship, our mind is projecting an image of a ship, and that is our mind. So when we remove the images that is projected by the mind, the ship, the ocean, the cup, is there a mind afterwards? Yeah, you can translate that.
Yes, okay.
And we will, yeah. Okay, reside in this state for 1 minute.
Ta đang thiền như vậy mà 1 phút xong.
Okay, so when we remove, okay, so mind is empty of inherent existence. That is like any other forms of any other matter, any other entities, any other phenomena in the world. Mind is empty of inherent existence, is dependent on cause and condition, that is for sure. But more than that, when you remove anything that the mind conjures, anything that is thought by the mind, anything that is projected by the mind, when you remove all those images, is there a mind left behind? When you stop thinking about anything, even about thoughts, if you stop thinking about thoughts even, will there be a mind? To stop thinking about thoughts, you have to tell your mind to stop thinking about a thought, and then there is a back process. So it's endless, it's infinite. So one can also understand from this nature that mind is not only inherently non-existent, but it is entirely made up by all the external objects that it conceives. Now we say that all the phenomena that is out there as we experience it, is due to the fact that our mind can perceive it, right? But the mind perceives only the things that is for the mind to exist, to be able to perceive the things that is externally out there. The mind has to depend upon the objects that it is actually projecting. So you see there is this dancing of interplay, mind depending on the object and object depending on the mind. So in this regard, the mind is not entirely, but the mind is dependent on the object, and the object is also dependent on the mind to rise. So you see this interdependency. Okay, so now with this now we have a certain idea of what a mind is. We may not have all the answers, but we have a certain idea. So we also know that mind is, in a certain way, the mind is a projector. But for the projector to project something, cassette, the disc into the projector for it to play. So we understand the interplay. So in this regard, let your mind, which is very much dependent upon external objects, which is also very much dependent upon the mind to be established or to be validated. So in this union of interplay between external objects and the internal mind, the projected and the projector, let your mind project, or in other words, visualize in front of you a medicine Buddha. So medicine Buddha doesn't necessarily have to be, when we say medicine Buddha, he or she is not an external, independently external individual out there. Okay, so it is not like you and me. So you are here, you are there, and I'm here. So we are different people. So medicine Buddha is not in that sense. As I said before, Buddha is something like saying good person, tall person, short person, like that. So medicine Buddha is also, understand medicine Buddha as a fit and healthy person, the most perfect fit and healthy person. That is what medicine Buddha is. So, okay. So think of medicine Buddha in front of you. So I'm not going to go into much great detail. You all know the most of you know medicine Buddha. So medicine Buddha is the perfect, healthy and fit of yourself. Medicine Buddha, as we know it today, is we are praying to medicine Buddha as we know it today. That is what we call the external medicine Buddha. By practicing the external medicine Buddha, we will internalize ourselves into becoming the medicine Buddha as well. So visualize the medicine Buddha in front of you, and then we will recite the medicine Buddha mantra, which is again the manifestation of the healing effects, the enlightened healing qualities of the Buddha. The medicine Buddha's image is the physical manifestation, emanation, and the mantra is the verbal emanation of the healing qualities of the Buddha. So this is what we are going to visualize and recite. Okay, so when we do the prayer, when we do the recitation to people suffering from depression, from anxiety, from traumatic experiences, then people suffering through the cruelty of the society, people suffering from natural calamities, everyone, ourselves and others, everyone who is going through a difficult time. So we pray to the medicine Buddha, who is the emanation of the healing power of the Buddha, and whose mantra is the verbal emanation, manifestation of the healing power of the Buddha, to help us heal. So if you know the mantra, recite the mantra. If you do not know the mantra, just send out good thoughts. Om Namo Bhagavate Bhagavate Guru Pendroya Babarasaya Radhagataya Arahate Samyasa Buddhaya Deata Om Bhagavate Bhagavate Maha Bhagavate Bhagavate Radhasamagate So Deata Om Bhagavate Bhagavate Maha Bhagavate Bhagavate Radhasamagate So Deata Om Bhagavate Bhagavate Maha Bhagavate Bhagavate Radhasamagate So Deata Om Bhagavate Bhagavate Maha Bhagavate Bhagavate Radhasamagate So Deata Om Bhagavate Om Bhagavate Bhagavate Maha Bhagavate Bhagavate Radhasamagate So Deata Om Bhagavate Bhagavate Maha Bhagavate Bhagavate Radhasamagate So Deata Om Bhagavate Bhagavate Maha Bhagavate Bhagavate Radhasamagate Deata Om Bhagavate Bhagavate Maha Bhagavate Bhagavate Deata Om Bhagavate Bhagavate Maha Bhagavate Bhagavate Radhasamagate So Deata Om Bhagavate Bhagavate Maha Bhagavate Deata Om Bhagavate Bhagavate Maha Bhagavate So Deata Om Bhagavate Bhagavate Maha Bhagavate Bhagavate Radhasamagate So Deata Om Bhagavate Bhagavate Maha Bhagavate Bhagavate Radhasamagate So So because you sent out those positive thoughts, good thoughts, and because you recite the mantra, the medicine Buddha is pleased, and whenever people are happy, pleased, you will always see there is a radiance, right? Some sort of light. So in similar way, the immense amount of light illuminates from the medicine Buddha, and it spreads to the all corner of the world, including yourself. If you, obviously, all of us have so many things to heal. So it is mental pain, physical pain, or otherwise, all the pains that is within us and within others are removed by this immense light of the medicine Buddha. So visualize that way. And because we are able to remove the negativities or afflictions in the mind of all sentient beings, for this great deed, all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas were very happy. And they were also rejoicing in your meritorious deeds. And because the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas are happy and pleased, your merits are multiplied tremendously. And so this multitude of merit, accumulation of merit, we will dedicate that to all the sentient beings suffering in the world. Thank you. Okay, so do we have any questions, Ms. Yen?
Yes, Rinpoche, we have 2 questions so far.
Please go
I will
on.
read the question. Prostrate to Rinpoche, can you please explain in more details how we can gain confidence at the time of death? Thank you, Rinpoche.
Oh, yeah. So if you remember point number, I think it's number 8, I think, at the separation of, at the time of death, point number 9, today's point number 11, I think this is the second last one, right? Yes, it's the second last one, point number 11. So at the time of death, so in Tibetan, it's called at the time of separation of mind and body, right? So separation of mind and body is a synonym for death. So what we can understand from here is that at the time of death, body ceases, mind continues, right? Body is full stop. So when the physical aggregates is on full stop, it's called death. But the mind never stops. The mind is always going forward. Now, even at the time of death, mind will continue to the next life. So in this regard, preparation of death requires tremendous amount of practices on, and to, normally we call practice of Dharma, practice of Dharma, practice on Poa, and so many other things. It all comes down to the point of practice of recognizing your mind, realizing your mind, if you like, to know, to befriend your mind. No, most of the time we are thinking, right? From the time of our birth until now, we have been thinking all the time. Thought has been our most loyal companion for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, so how whatever age you are. Our thoughts have been our most loyal companions. But how well do we know our thoughts? Our mind has been there with us from the beginning, but how well do we know our mind? How familiar are we with our mind? The shape of our mind. So when I say shape, I mean the form, or what is, as if you remember the meditation, I said, when you remove everything that the mind is projecting, what is the mind? Now, if you remember again the mirror example, when you remove all the objects that is appearing in front of the mirror still does exist. If you put something in front of the mirror becomes that object in a way. If you put a glass of water in the mirror, it becomes a mirror reflecting glass of water, right? So you can go on and go on. When you remove anything that is in front of the mirror still remains. And the very nature of that is the very true nature of the mirror. When you remove everything that is displaying in front of the mirror, that is the actual mirror. And when we similarly, mind, when you remove everything that is displayed or projected or conceived by the mind, when all conceptual thoughts are put on hold, what remains? That is the very nature of the mind. So we don't have to do anything. As I said, Buddhist practices, sometimes, it is very difficult to achieve, but the method is very simple. You don't have to do any external work here. Just sit down and think that's why I keep saying I'm not trying to play with words here when I say think what you are thinking of. Think of what your thoughts are thinking about. So when you go deeper and deeper and deeper, this is like removing the objects that is being displayed in front of the mirror. So when you remove all of that, theoretically speaking, when you remove everything that is in front of the mirror, either the mirror ceases to exist, or the mirror appears in the most, in the truest form. So this is what we have to recognize, what we have to realize. And when we can do that, this is what we have to prepare before death, right? And when we can do that at the time of death, our mind will be lucid, clear, like a stainless mirror. It can display anything. And at that time, we can put in front of the mirror all the good things. By good things, I'm referring to compassion, emptiness, things like that. And whatever is displayed in front of the mirror will be reflected by the mirror. The mirror is an example for mind. And that time, you will only have positive thoughts. Okay? Only positive thoughts will be reflected. The thing is, due to our experiences in the world, we have so many good things and so many bad things, all kept in our memory. So that is like the objects that we have. So memory keeping things in our memory is In the Buddhism, we call that in the dormant state, or in other words, sometimes it's referred to as subconscious state. So to bringing things from memory into the conscious state, that is displaying it in front of the mirror. So we can, in our life, we have so many good experiences, either spiritually or worldly. So we can bring all those subconscious thoughts, dormant thoughts, memories of bodhicitta, memories of receiving initiation, all these things. At the time of death, we can bring it into our mirror, which is the mind, and the mirror will clearly display them. In other words, the mind will be in absolute positive state, and that will have a tremendous effect on where will next birth we will be taking place.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Oh, yeah. So if you remember point number, I think it's number 8, I think, at the separation of, at the time of death, point number 9, today's point number 11, I think this is the second last one, right? Yes, it's the second last one, point number 11. So at the time of death, so in Tibetan, it's called at the time of separation of mind and body, right? So separation of mind and body is a synonym for death. So what we can understand from here is that at the time of death, body ceases, mind continues, right? Body is full stop. So when the physical aggregates is on full stop, it's called death. But the mind never stops. The mind is always going forward. Now, even at the time of death, mind will continue to the next life. So in this regard, preparation of death requires tremendous amount of practices on, and to, normally we call practice of Dharma, practice of Dharma, practice on Poa, and so many other things. It all comes down to the point of practice of recognizing your mind, realizing your mind, if you like, to know, to befriend your mind. No, most of the time we are thinking, right? From the time of our birth until now, we have been thinking all the time. Thought has been our most loyal companion for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, so how whatever age you are. Our thoughts have been our most loyal companions. But how well do we know our thoughts? Our mind has been there with us from the beginning, but how well do we know our mind? How familiar are we with our mind? The shape of our mind. So when I said shape, I mean the form, or what is, as if you remember the meditation, I said, when you remove everything that the mind is projecting, what is the mind? Now, if you remember again the mirror example, when you remove all the objects that is appearing in front of the mirror still does exist. If you put something in front of the mirror becomes that object in a way. If you put a glass of water in the mirror, it becomes a mirror reflecting glass of water, right? So you can go on and go on. When you remove anything that is in front of the mirror still remains. And the very nature of that is the very true nature of the mirror. When you remove everything that is displaying in front of the mirror, that is the actual mirror. And when we similarly, mind, when you remove everything that is displayed or projected or conceived by the mind, when all conceptual thoughts are put on hold, what remains? That is the very nature of the mind. So we don't have to do anything, as I said. Buddhist practices, sometimes, it is very difficult to achieve, but the method is very simple. You don't have to do any external work here. Just sit down and think what you're. That's why I keep saying I'm not trying to play with words here when I say think what you are thinking of. Think of what your thoughts are thinking about. So when you go deeper and deeper and deeper, this is like removing the objects that is being displayed in front of the mirror. So when you remove all of that, theoretically speaking, when you remove everything that is in front of the mirror, either the mirror ceases to exist or the mirror appears in the most, in the truest form. So this is what we have to recognize, what we have to realize. And when we can do that, this is what we have to prepare before death, right? And when we can do that at the time of death, our mind will be lucid, clear, like a stainless mirror. It can display anything. And at that time, we can put in front of the mirror all the good things. By good things, I'm referring to compassion, emptiness, things like that. And whatever is displayed in front of the mirror will be reflected by the mirror. The mirror is an example for mind. And at that time, you will only have positive thoughts. Okay? Only positive thoughts will be reflected. The thing is, due to our experiences in the world, we have so many good things and so many bad things all kept in our memory. So that is like the objects that we have. So memory keeping things in our memory is, in the Buddhism, we call that in the dormant state, or in other words, sometimes it's referred to as subconscious state. So to bringing things from memory into the conscious state, that is displaying it in front of the mirror. So we can, in our life, we have so many good experiences, either spiritually or worldly. So we can bring all those subconscious thoughts, dormant thoughts, memories of bodhicitta, memories of receiving initiation, all these things. At the time of death, we can bring it into our mirror, which is the mind, and the mirror will clearly display them. In other words, the mind will be in absolute positive state, and that will have a tremendous effect on where next birth we will be taking place. So one thing to add, like we always, at the time of death, we ask people, monks to pray for us and lamas to pray for us. We do so many prayer and other things. So praying, in other words, it's relying on someone else or somebody other than yourself to help. So if you can do it all yourself, then you do not have to, rely on others. Praying, we pray to the Triple Gem because there are things that we cannot do it ourselves, so we pray. So if you can do it yourself, you do not have to pray. I'm not saying praying is bad. I'm saying it is not required. So if you can recognize your mind at the time of death, if you become friendly, if you become familiar with your mind as colleague, companion, right? Until the time of death, we have never befriended our mind. We have no control over our mind most of the time. We think we have a control over our mind, but me and my mind becomes two different entities most of the time. Sometimes I have no control over what my mind is doing, and sometimes my mind has no control over what I am doing. So it is important to bring this into harmony you and your mind, me and my mind, bring that into harmony. In order to bring into harmony, you have to befriend. To befriend, you have to be familiar. You have to get along first, mingle. Just like you have to make friends with your mind, you have to mingle with your mind, you have to familiarize yourself with your mind. And when you can do that, then you would not need any other external prayers or reliance on gurus or monks to pray for you. You can go to wherever rebirth you want to take. Maybe you want to go to a lower realm to help other beings, sentient beings. You want to go to a very bad place and help many people. You can do that. You want to go to a higher place and maybe rest. I don't know. You can do that. So you have full control over your mind. You have full control over the GPS, the navigation system, what that is, your life and death. So navigation of life and navigation of death, both is dependent upon realization or recognition of what your mind is, how your mind functions. What is the shape of mind? What is the nature of mind? What is the function of mind? All that. So be very attentive. Be very attentive to all those details. The form of mind, the nature of mind, and the function of mind. And when you can do that at the time of death, you have no problem at all. Nothing, no fear, full confident, no prayers needed even. Nobody has to pray for you. You have full control of your life. You know, when great masters die, we do prayers. We are not doing the prayers for them. We are actually doing prayers for ourselves. We are actually saying such a great master has passed away. So it's such a great loss for us, not them. We are asking them to come back because we are, at the end of the day, we are a little bit selfish. So we don't want the great masters to go to other places. We want them to come back for us. So this is very important. We are not praying for the great masters. We are not praying for their sake. We are praying for our sake. So great masters, people who are great meditators, who are familiar with the functions of their mind, nature of their mind, how their mind works, they do not need any prayer. If somebody is doing prayer for them, it is doing for not for theirs, not for meditators' sake, but for their own sake, for our own sake. That's what we are doing the prayer for. Okay, so we may have, I think we have 2 more questions, right?
Yes, Rinpoche. I can read the next question.
Please.
The next question. Prostrate to Rinpoche. Can you please explain what is meditation? What do we do while we meditate? Thank you. Gampopa. Thank you, Rinpoche.
Yeah. So I actually explained very briefly a little earlier. So meditation, so our mind at the moment is broken into thousands of pieces. Anger here, jealousy there, passion here, love there, greed here, selfishness there. It's broken into so many pieces, right? When it's all broken, as we all know, when everything's broken, nothing works. So I think our mind works, but our mind is not able to work it to the fullest capacity, right? So in order for our mind to work at its full capacity, it is important to consolidate all the broken pieces together to make the mind whole. And that is the process of meditation. And is the question also how to meditate, or that is all, right? What is meditation? I think that's the question. Yeah. So this, that is the answer. So when you consolidate all the broken pieces into one whole entity, then your mind is the most powerful thing there is. And that mind you can use to realize emptiness, to practice on bodhicitta, and so on and so forth. Oh yeah. The last question.
Okay, the last question. Prostrate to Rinpoche, there are many people who firmly understand the Dharma, have the right attitude towards the Dharma, but do not have the right behavior. For example, practice the Dharma right. So according to you, is there a way to help them unify perception, attitude, and behavior? Thank you, Rinpoche. Cảm ơn thầy. Thank you, Rinpoche.
Okay. So people who understand the Dharma fully and people who understand and who have faith in the Dharma, I think if you understand the Dharma, so we usually say that in the monastery, in the monastery we say so it's like you know the scriptures but you do not know the Dharma. So this is where it comes to, you know, today's point number 4 or what? No, sorry. Point number 10. Today's point number 10. It says leaving all the instructions into the words or the book. This is what happens. So this means you have understood the scripture, not the Dharma. If you have understood the Dharma, if you have comprehended the Dharma, then your behavior will not go against the Dharma, not be conflict with the Dharma. So there are people, as I said before, I think I covered that last week or many times. So have the knowledge. People are they are equipped with the knowledge. They have the medicine box with them, but they're not taking the medicine, right? So that means the medicine is left in the bag. The medicine of Dharma is left in the bag of books, of knowledge alone. So that's why it's not helping. So understanding, so in the monastery we say understanding the scripture, but not understanding the scripture, but not getting the Dharma. You understand? So that's what I say, I think is, so this is lack of point number 10. Leaving all the meaning of the Dharma in the words and not being able to. So, okay, so the, I will tell you, the method or the solution to that. Okay, the solution is to apply as little as you can. It's like investing money. So whatever small amount you have to invest them. You have to put into application. Hello?
We still can hear you, Rinpoche.
Okay, good. So what little things you learn from the Dharma, you have to put it into application. You have to practice right away. Okay? That way, practice and knowledge, scriptural knowledge and Dharma understanding will not become two different entities. It will be one. I will add one more thing and then finish. Kadamba masters. So Kadamba is so great masters of India. So we call them Kadamba master. So the great Kadamba master, so practices the Lamrim and other things. So there's a saying, one should be careful as not to put a huge gap between oneself and one's practices, so that even a horse can pass through. You know what I mean? So, sorry, it's a horse's mare, a hair of a horse. So what it actually means is not even a tiny crack should be there between you and your practices. Okay? Anyway, the example is maybe not, not appropriate. There should not be a crack for even a horse's hair to pass through between you and your practices. That is the quote. Meaning one's practice and one's behavior should be one. And in order to do that, one need to apply into practices what little one knows. If you learn about bodhicitta today, practice that. If you learn about medicine Buddha, practice that. Whatever you learn today, practice that. if you leave it for tomorrow, or if you say, okay, this is very simple practice, maybe I can do it later. I'm actually waiting for some highest yoga tantra practice. Then at the time of higher yoga tantra practices, actually you have to begin with the basis. And since you have not built the basis, at the time of high yoga tantra practice, you have nothing, you have no basis to build your build of spirituality. Okay, that's all. Oh yeah, thank you. Okay, we will do the dedication now.
Chúng ta hồi hướng.
Light for dedication is there or not? Okay, yeah. Yes. Gewan de ye nyordo da lama zang ye. Njo wa che jang ma le. Ge ye sa la ge.
Jambo je ma ye ma na ma ke yo. Ke ba nya ba. Me je
Niệm Phổ thì phải và ngã sĩ Nam Mô Đồ Dũng Tá Gia Chú Phật Lô Sáng Trồn Dĩ Gia Số Trô Cún Tù Trên Thế Rô Rê Nam Bá Sô Á